Ish.
There you go. Ish. Hi guys, welcome back. It's time for another Trekyards episode. We did have one planned for today, a special live, but that's going to be put to next week.
Yes.
So just so you guys know, if you're tuning in for that, it'll be next week. That's with David Bessig and his Bessig verse.
We only teased it rather than...
Yes.
So, Lower Decks instead, which is good, because Lower Decks is on the brain, and it's about to be, tomorrow. The next one, I believe, it's already Thursday again.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that, but also like, wow, that week just disappeared. There's a puff of smoke where that week was, and is not here anymore. Like, I know I did things, but it's now Wednesday. And by the time we do our lives, it's basically Thursday for me. So it's already. So I could stay up and watch Lower Decks if I wanted to stay up. That's how Thursday is for me.
You got to stay up pretty long because I have to wait till 3 a.m. my time.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I thought it was earlier than that. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, Runabout's gonna run about. It is. I'm so tempted to refresh my Runabout model from Tobias and kind of convert it just for the lols. Such an unnecessary thing to do. But it's like, well,
yeah,
might as well. Well, who's gonna notice? But the Lower Decks people might.
And hey Aaron, how's it going? Yeah, this live.
Bring more ships into your show. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Do it.
This live was brought on by a comment on our Runabout episode, because as you can see in the thumbnail there, they're distinctly different.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, is it a different Runabout or is it just the animation style?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Lower Decks guys and the Prodigy guys both go out of their way to make sure things look exactly like they should. And if there are distinct changes, that's a choice.
Most of the time.
Saying, most of the time. That's them. Any big changes, I mean.
Yeah.
That's them saying that this is an alternative design or a new design. That's a different Runabout. It's completely different. And
we both knew it was a little different going into the episode. It was a really fun one of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's really different. And ignore like the colours, because the colours are neither here nor there. You can change those anyway. No, and it's a, and yes, we obviously, there's always that pinch of salt of the, Spock in Prodigy has the Prodigy-esque features, but it's still trying to be canon Spock, just with those slight tweaks. And Lower Deck, same things. A few things you can tell. And I've got one in specific example here that's clearly it is meant to be this, but the filter of that is doing this to it. But it's a very one-to-one logic of why. So I went back and I also found my season 2 archive, which is a while ago now, and I found all the stuff. I mean, you saw this folder, all the stuff that's direct replication stuff, because we've talked about it a few times. You can for sure make this is a ship, but if you're not trying to actually replicate something, then there's no arguable. Well, it could be different, but when they're actually trying to be precise, which those shots are examples of. And this is the one that highlighted the conversation. We both say it's different, but in the similarities, it gives confidence of why the differences make sense. Because when they get so many things right, even the smallest things, that tells you when they get the big things wrong, it's because it's a redesign. Because you wouldn't get the tiny things right and the big things wrong most of the time. Always exceptions.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity and the good luck to actually talk to Mike McMahon and his team.
Yes.
As well as Aaron Waltke on Prodigy. And they do go out of their way to make sure that those canon designs look like they should. So
yeah,
we're just going to look at quite a few examples today and just kind of point out what we mean.
Because we've got pro and cons all throughout this list, but I think there's definitely a vibe towards pro. But
yes, yeah,
we'll get there. But I'll start sharing.
Go share, and I'll
chat
with the peoples. So anyway, yes, we have 19 people here with 26 likes. That's really good. So hit that like button if you're just joining us. Let's try to get up to 50 likes. I know. Starbase Montgomery, I'll get to your super chat as soon as Samuel gets back from sharing. But yeah, hopefully you guys will chime in and let us know your thoughts on these designs and whether they're animation style choices or if they're actually differences. Hopefully we'll have an interesting discussion. I don't know if it'll be 2 hours. I don't know if we can talk about this for 2 hours. But you are on Trekyards after all, so who knows? We could maybe do that. But anyway, put in your thoughts, super chat, and help us out. This is the last day of the month, so any super chats will really bolster our monthly income. So if you guys can contribute, please do so. And we do read them all on the air, so just so you know. But yeah, also check out if you want to help us on a monthly basis, you can join the channel. There's a join button down there. Just click that, see what your options are for a monthly subscription to the channel. It helps out the algorithm, shows YouTube that you guys are interested enough you want to join the channel, and it really helps us out in the long run. So if you can do that, please do that. Or head on over to Patreon/Trekyards. That's another monthly way to support us. You can also check out the links down below in the description. There are links for Eagle Moss. Well, there is, but for what was I going to say? Oh yeah, for Teespring and TeePublic, we have some really cool Trekyards merch. So if you want to get Trekyards up. Speaking of shit, Aaron, I gotta still send you a. He retracted a message. Anyway, Aaron, I gotta send you and your team some Trekyards shirts. I gotta make a new order and get some. But yeah. And yes, Dan. Yes, Dan, the back part of the runabout can be removed, and there can be different ones. Yes, more like the middle part, honestly. But this one has a new front. Oh. So
I'm back.
Goody.
Yes.
Starbase Montgomery throws in $2. I like the Winnebago class runabout USS Eaglefly. That's a Spaceballs reference. So, and Aaron says instead of the Danube class, this is the Thames class. Is that confirmed?
I doubt it.
But that's an official word.
I think just an English joke.
I know. Aaron Waldkey throws in $2 with no comment, but I just read his last message anyway before that came in. So, thank you, Aaron.
It'd be great if Trekyards could be asked to name things. There's a random ship somewhere, and they could just call Trekyards and say, "Hey, give us a random name for a ship class." I say that without that happening, but it sounds so easy when I say it. It's like, oh, we named that.
That would be kind of cool. Nobody would believe us, but
we're happy doing everything else as well. Boy, this is a lovely random set of stuff I've got here.
I see that.
There's so much good stuff in this show. It's like that shuttle one in particular. I think we might start with. That was such a oh yeah, damn! I put work into that and forgot because it's such a long time ago. When the show's dense, it's like you think back to Picard season 2, and it's kind of hard to remember what was there because so much wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then Lower Decks, it's like, oh god, what is there's so much.
And when he says the show is dense, he means with content, not dense as in thick in the head and getting things wrong.
I don't. Yeah.
Just so you guys know.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. Yes, my slang terms is not a slang; it's literal there.
Because I call people dense all the time.
Oh dear.
Nobody that's in the chat right now, I don't think. But who knows?
Who knows? God, what was my framing for this? I guess that, but why am I seeing one corner? I don't even know. I don't know. Past me, explain yourself. But what's your gut then? What's your overall summary then? How much of Lower Decks is trying to be canon versus trying to be... We've got 45 minutes, let's sketch it, let's put it into the show. Done.
I think 90% of the time they're trying to be canon, but we know, like we said from talking to Mike McMahon, that he wanted the big delta on the Obina class or the USS Archimedes, and they talked him down to the smaller one on the underside. He wanted a huge one on the top of the slot. So they want to make changes. They want to do their own thing, but it's not like Discovery where they're like, this is Prime, this is the time it's supposed to be in, but all of our designs are our own designs. We don't want to incorporate anything else. Lower Decks is very much, yes, bring in the old, represent it as it should be. So I think 90% of the time they try to follow canon and use ships that are already around. And even with this Runabout, it's just a slight variation on it. But this is a few years on from the last time we saw a Runabout. Mm-hmm. So it could be a new design or it could just be an alternate, right? So.
Well, and Runabouts themselves are, late TNG, of literal TNG. I mean, these things are not new. These things are I mean, yes, I mean, we know Mirandas can stay around for 80 years, so that's therefore ships' lifespan is huge. So that in itself is not an impressive feat. But yeah, something this small, of course, you can iterate. No, I'm still amazed by Mike's comment on that ship, because it somewhat feels like a George Lucas situation where he might have all the best ideas, but he has some really wonky ideas sometimes, and they're too creative. And the team has to say, George,
or Mike in this case,
Mike, let's reel you back a little bit. And in the prequels, he wasn't reeled back, and it went off ledge. So I feel like, because that was, the way we both know that where they came up with the Bina is fantastic, Bina. Yeah. Although we would change the Delta. Not a lot. We would change it. So it's interesting to see where the team, and I'm sure Brad has a lot to do with that as well. We need to get Brad back on. We have more questions, Stuart. And even more with it. I mean, question straight with this. Although a lot of these things, I'm starting to wonder with the amount that Mike, and he said this explicitly in our interviews, that he always pushes for new, whereas animated, you're meant to build a buffer of existent because it makes things cheaper, which lets you do the fun stuff. But if you're trying to do new all the time, you're burning through your budget as you go. But it's so creatively wonderful, and they're remarkable at new. It's shocking how little they're reusing. Shocking, which is great. I had a point there, but I forgot it because I was being too long-winded.
Well, while you're thinking, Gorgonzola says there had to be an upgrade. We already had lots of shuttle types, but never had a different type of runabout. That's not true. We had the Yellowstone class with the weapons pod on the top. But the only reason that was added so we could differentiate the hero ship from the other one.
And that was in the first episode with them, so it was there at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway. Remember your point yet?
No. It's about reusing things and new things and... Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I remember that. Cool. So I'm starting to wonder, and this runabout was a part of that. When you try and push those amounts of content, fresh content to the extreme, at a certain point, you understand the cheats are the most important thing. Was this runabout, the only angle we saw it, was this actually just a two-dimensional lower decks painting they did? Because modelling in 3D and texturing it, far more complicated situation than a single still. Now things like the Phoenix, that was a hero, lots of shots, great. But for this one thing, there's no motion, you could get away with that, it's a lot cheaper. You don't have it for later on, obviously, it's not a reusable asset, although the design has now been designed. But I'm wondering how much of now they're being efficient. I'm not going to say cheating, but being efficient that way. Because then a lot of things... I mean, buildings, you don't need 3D buildings. I mean, how much of it is cheating? I say cheating. How much of it is 2D, pure 2D? Because,
Well, that's the difference between lower decks and like Prodigy. Prodigy, when they show a ship, they have to build that ship.
Most of the time.
You said, like you said, with lower decks, sometimes it can just be literally a 2D animated thing instead of a 3D animated thing. So yeah, where's that line come in? And we talked about before that, well, especially with Prodigy, actually, most of their shots are very beautiful. They look like paintings. But there was a few shots in particular in this last episode of Lower Decks that were the exact same way, especially when they were telling the story of what happened behind the scenes. Yeah, some of them were very picturesque, like I said early on when we reviewed it. You could take that one still and like frame it. It would be a great picture, And
that's funny because I bet you there's a conversation where Mike's lawyer says, your accountant says, you're down to $45 for this first episode. But I have an entire escape sequence. And then they suggest, we can do it in 2D animated art, and a girl do it on Fiverr for $5 times... I'm obviously joking to the full extent. But that, I'm sure that was the case. They were going to do it full 3D, like story, like originally. But it worked beautifully well to have it be stills, and it's almost as good. It's weird. It was well timed. Yeah. And they saved lots of money by doing that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Aaron says that's the magic of matte paintings. The cheapest way to make an insanely epic thing look nice.
Yeah, I wonder how much time it would take to do that. As in, obviously, thinking of elaborate spacescapes. It's all so beautiful, but is anything procedural? Is it all handcrafted? Like truly handcrafted? That. But only three. Like when I'm sure when you see nebulas in big movies, they're always animations that are calculated, particle simulations, and blah blah blah. It's complicated. Or
it could just be ink in a water tank, like in Star Trek 2.
Well, yeah, that's the old school way for sure. Well, it's like in the Phantom Menace. They did a superb amount of miniatures. You don't think it, but they did. That's why they hold up better now, because they were done in that way. And they were saying we could try and do a water simulation, a very basic one for a waterfall in Naboo, and that was going to be like, this is a hard thing to do. And they just put salt on a black cloth and
Yes,
waterfall done. And I think they did it that day. That was in the film. So there's anyway, that's like it's like a motion matte painting in terms of compared to everything else. But Stuart, let's talk about some of these pictures. So we've got this cool shot of some shuttles, which was in right at the early part of season 2, and all this stuff's to be season 2 because obviously we did one episode of season 3. And these are obviously comparison things I do to show the canon and then what it's close to. Now this is an example of where is the line, as we're discussing, of is this meant to be literal or figurative, or how far different can they be different and still be the same? This one is very interesting to be the reverse point almost. What do you think?
yeah, this shows the attention to detail, but slightly different, which is nice. Like these seem just like variants. Even the Type 15 down there with the bigger wraparound window. But they're still, they got the basic shapes, they got the basic look, they get across what they're trying to be, but they've kind of put an artistic spin on it and changed it to something new. So yeah.
And for me, this feels like an example of the civilian versions. This is a good get out of jail free card. Because there is a plethora of small shuttles, as we can see here, and therefore they're going to inspire things. I mean, when most races are doing low-end space flight, Federation is mass-producing shuttles. And so first contact, second contact, flying around, you're going to see these things. So I'm sure civilian groups are either going to be interested to design their own version that mimics slightly, or buys them second-hand because Starfleet won't use them forever, or too many. And so I look at all of these and say, well, it's inspired or variant. None are directly inspired, although the travel pod is just, that's basically the same. But the other ones are distinctly different enough, but they went to the direct source of what's the inspiration, here we go. And in fact that TOS blurred is in the last episode that just came out. I almost made some notes about it, but it's what it's trying to do, and it don't need a full episode on it.
Yeah, and it's funny you were talking about shuttles. Just recently Ben Robinson had lunch with Mike McMahon and handed him off the prototype of the Cerritos shuttle, which again is a different design, round nacelles, back to cylindrical, and it's definitely a unique look. It's definitely a Cerritos kind of class shuttle, but it's new. It's not trying to be anything else. So there is both in that show, 100%. But I really appreciate all attention to detail, and even as you said, if these are civilian versions of these ships, I like that as well, because who's to say that after a few years of a contract being up, it's no longer exclusively with Starfleet. The company still wants to produce them and make them available to civilians, or like you said, secondhand, kind of mothballed out of Starfleet. You can customize them then, because customizing ships is, well, it's actually a thing now, even in Starfleet, according to Mike McMahon. That's one of the reasons for the delta on the bottom of the Obina. He says to a certain degree captains kind of personalize their ships a little bit, which ties in very nicely with what Rick Sternbach said in the Bird of Prey Haynes manual, that all Klingons, when they get their ship, the Klingons kind of customize them. That's why no two Klingon ships are exactly the same inside, which is cool.
Although
not really a Starfleet thing, but
all two Klingon ships are the same on the outside.
Yes.
At least a Bird of Prey. But yeah, this is an example of where they're trying to do both and winning both, because none of them are trying to be identical.
Yeah.
It's more when we're going to see a flashback to TOS eventually and see how close they do to a TOS shuttle. Thing is, we did already see that in a sense with the. Although I think there actually was one in the museum. They had a TOS Bird of Prey, and it was a TOS Bird of Prey.
Yep.
Flawless. Yep. And the Vulcan. They did the season 1 things. I didn't. Folders weren't on, but I mean, those were clearly like identical replicas. Right, pick something else to pick the next thing, Stuart.
All right, let me see.
You got a plethora of choice.
Well, let's go to the Oberth class. Lower decks. Perfect example of 95% the exact same.
Mm.
The engines are a little different, but again, that could just be. This wasn't like super up close on screen. It was kind of in the distance. This is zoomed in. But you look at those details. It knows what it's trying to be. They knew what they were trying to make, and they captured it beautifully. Even the smallest little details in some cases. Sure, the struts aren't curved. You know,
Yes.
there's a little
Yeah, we noticed that last time. Yeah.
Yeah, and the cells are different, but they're upgraded maybe, or who knows? I mean, there's explanations, but like the striping on the hull, they know what they're doing, so they do like to represent their favorite ships on screen.
Because they've been, what do 3D models do that build these ships, like the Eagle Moss one here for the Oberth? They go to the movies or the miniatures and they find reference. Well, these things are entirely as open to the licensors as well as more because they're licensees. They can ask CBS for these 3D models or other things. They have better reference than we can have, so there's no excuse for them to be wrong except time. But then, like you say, this is an interesting case of it's perfect. Look close. Wait, no, it's not. Because it really is. It's actually wrong in many places, but it's so many wrong things, but so many of them are also right that it just feels aesthetic.
Plus, this was a background ship.
Mid-ground. Yeah.
So not really to be focused on.
But things like that, then you wouldn't bother having the blinkies, or the under pylon bulk, or the red striping. Those stuff you could entirely get away with not being there. Because if you have the red stripe, which you mentioned, well, it continues along the front. So to have a stripe and get the bit wrong feels like an intentional thing, because how they know that's there without referencing the miniature? And it'll take you 30 seconds to add that in if it's 2D, 30 seconds, 5 minutes in Photoshop if it's 3D. And that's okay. Yeah. This is a lower decks filtered Oberth, but it's bloody close, and obviously Discovery would do all sorts of weird things, maybe having huge blue, and I wouldn't even mind having blue grills, but not just replacing those black grills like verbatim. They have to be a new nacelle variant design. I'm absolutely fine with new versions as long as there's some thought put in, and these things could do with a TNG refit, obviously, but no, very faithful and yet not, which is kind of the fun of this.
Yep, small little things just kind of stand out the more you look at it. It's one of those things, like some of those pictures you look at, and it's like the longer you stare, the more zombies you see in the fog. It's the same kind of thing. So yeah, and that's why we do these breakdown videos on these ships as the show's coming out, because we want to show off just how good the team is, and we love ships, so we love talking about this stuff.
And they are not shy on ships. We had 2 this week. And we've got 2 more in the buffer that we can use for next time if there's nothing else next week. But there might be. Might not be. We'll find out. But Stuart, do you have a super chat goal and a like goal? Throw them out. You're almost half or quarter of the way.
Of course I do. Likes. I want to get to 50, so hit that like button. 42 of you here now with 38 likes. We can get higher than that. Come on, let's get to 50, guys. Super chats, we just need some. We've only had 2. So super chat in your thoughts, anything you notice that's different, anything you want us to talk about, why it might be different. Because we really feel like these guys know their stuff. They know their canon, they know their designs, and they could make things drastically different, much like the Discovery team, but they chose not to. So we appreciate that.
This is our last day of the month for funding, so we are still a significant chunk away from our it's okay, Stuart, it's okay amount. So if we can get, a couple of hundred, that'd be nice today. I'm just saying. You never know, Stuart. Someone might roll in the 50 and we'll be like, less stress. Who knows?
Yes.
But yeah, Oberth, get the seal of approval from me. Let me pick something else to look at. Okay, we'll go straight from this extreme of it's not so close they can get away with it. Go to that bird of prey shot, the exterior breakdown 4, which is the sort of full shot. Now the caveat here is that this is the 3D model using DS9, so in itself is an inferior replica of the original miniature. But then the miniature from the CG for the cartoon would be inferior because they need less detail. But obviously they're all based on the same original. And this, when we compared the episode, was shockingly good. And only in working with you in the review, I mean, it is a beat for beat, plate for plate. And this had to be a full 3D model. So they had to build it's a ship that, of course, you turn the team, build a bird of prey, you know you're going to use it again. That's obviously one you commit to and do well. But to match the angle so faithfully, it is, you can almost every plate you can actually count and trace around, and it is like, I would say, 10% different at max, and those are mostly things they're just missing because they're just so small detail. You won't notice if you have them side by side, but they're tiny, astoundingly close.
And nobody will ever have them side by side, except for Trekyards.
Well, yeah, certainly matching the angle. Yeah, this was a very nice surprise when we saw this.
Yeah, that brings up for me Prodigy as well. That Kobayashi Maru episode where there's like birds of prey, but they're slightly different.
Yeah, I thought it meant the crashed one, but yeah, the view screen ones.
The crash one was good, gotta say.
But yeah, that was. I really have to get those converted at some point as well, because those are new birds of prey. Those are cavorts, that being cavorts.
Aaron's here. Maybe he knows. Aaron, are those different birds of prey classes? What's going on there? Let us know.
Yes.
We did talk about those in a video as well. So
yes, well, I actually told them that they had an editing glitch.
Well,
yes,
that was mean.
Well, anyway. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's like one frame, and I noticed, and it's fine. Where the wings are up and down. Obviously, at early edit, they just missed one frame, and it's great because I caught it.
This guy, I tell you.
Yeah, it was quite obvious to me. But no, this is just, astoundingly good.
Well, if you go to Bird of Prey Exterior Breakdown 2, it's more of the same. It's the same angle, just reversed almost. And again, so many similarities. Sure, there's a few little different changes, but it's the Klingon
different
KDF,
changes. What are you noticing as actual changes then?
Well, not changes, just lacking some.
Okay, because there's a distinction there to
the black slits just on the upper part there. There's two of them, and they're not on the animated one. Small thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's also now we pointed this out before. The animated one seems a little more squished. It's not quite
a little bit
tall.
And also the wings are a different angle, which is fine.
Yeah.
Well, I do like how they've done the 3 lights on the wings. Mine are flares, and I don't tend to keep flares on just for personal reasons. I don't like them as much, but they have them on full belt. But I mean, I believe in the tile sequence as well, so it makes sense to do them well. But yeah. Because we hope we're going to see the bird of prey again randomly, because we should.
It's everywhere, yeah, absolutely. Let's see, what else can we talk about here real quick?
Well, I'll go from my fold. The next one is a Rathacon costume comparison between the engineering and the red. It's the first time we saw the red, I believe. And again, now this is one of those things where there's a lot less details in the costumes. There's certain details, but there's a lot less. Now this is where how close they get is entirely up to them, and then you see the emissions start to get made. And with the stylistic things, I mean, the com badge is just very wrong, because Rathacon is an intricate com badge. We had them custom done for our versions, which are much more detailed. Theirs are entirely wrong.
That goes to the animation being simple. That's an animation choice.
Yes, right? It is.
So it's not as detailed for such a small little thing.
Yeah.
But with everything else kind of lining up really well, I mean, even the belt's simplified and doesn't have the black behind it like it should. So
yeah, and I'm fine to not see the armband black. I mean, those things are going to be 12 pixels tall. It would have been nice if at least the colors of the Delta would have been on point, because they're entirely wrong on both. I mean, they are, but they went for obviously linking directly to their TNG com badge, which we see other people wear. So that visually it links into that. And or reuse, but that sort of thing. Okay, I get it, but you know what it is. Although might be how Spock's standing, but is the cutout line wrong? It's got a curve to it. Does it have a curve to it? Oh, it is wrong.
No, it doesn't. That's a shadow.
No, I mean the lower decks one. The line starts the other side of the neck, whereas Spock starts at the middle of the neck. So they did actually get that wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a wrong uniform. With actually, this does cross the line of they should have done it better. Oh dear.
It's not bad. It's not like it's.
It's not, but it's the thing
Discovery Monster Maroon
actively didn't there's only so many lines to draw there, Stuart, and they got it actively wrong.
Fine. That being said, the engineer radiation suit is pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Some additional colors on the arm and a silver kind of belt thingy. But that's probably on the other side of Scotty. We just can't see it.
Or just on a random engineer. That's fine. Yeah, that one to me works the best of the two. It just feels more detailed in general. Yeah. So that's where you're animated versus not. But something like his middle chest, we don't need fake 3D. It can be flat vibe for the suit elements, and it can be a single black dot rather than black with white inside. Yeah, those details are the simplification things, but everything else feels, so on point.
So a lot of times it's both, actually. This whole thing is about animation style versus, accuracy. And because of its animation, a lot of times few corners need to be cut. It's just to simplify things. But they still go like at least 80 to 90% head on with what they should. The other example here is the Wrath of Khan one, which is the engineering radiation chamber. Again, the curves on the upper monitors, just the little, it's kind of stepping, isn't there in the animated one, but the monitors are there. They're the right shape. The rods, the center thing, the warning labels. Wow.
And this was one of those things where I couldn't even picture this set if you told me, because it's only shot in close-ups of Spock, pretty much. How I remember it in the film. This is the only wide from what I can recall. And you normally see the other side of the wall. Like I said, couldn't really visualize this. This is an example of, this is far more detailed than they need to be. Far more. Now, obviously, it's just, if you look at the, I'm thinking especially if you look at the stickers, there's these little black boxy things either side. Well, those are, draw, clone, hey, detail. So that's very, very easy and quick. I get that, sure, that's probably why they're there. But you get away with being half as detailed and still be fantastic. So it's nice that they're an absolute belt on this. And maybe the person who did it loves Wrath of Khan, thought, I'm just going to... Yep, it's all going in there.
The other thing, the thing right in front of Rutherford's hand, like the little handle that that turns, it's totally different on the actual one. But that's fine. Yeah, it's a fine line between accurate and. Fact is, they do a lot of hard work. They put a lot of research and effort in to make things look like they should. So it's really hard to say what they're exactly going for.
Well, and this is why.
That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say that's why when we see the Runabout with a completely different front end, different shape, different windows, it's like that was a choice. You didn't just mess up and forget what a Runabout looked like. You actually made the choice to change the front end of that. So that's kind of what we're going for, talking about here today. So
I was going to echo that exactly. Yeah, it's so, they obviously put the effort into being so detailed that a radical change is a radical change on purpose most of the time. Now that said, this is the other big example for the Galaxy class bridge comparison. Let's go for the wide number 1. Now this is one that I had thoughts about, that this one's tricky because A, there are many versions of Enterprise D bridge from different seasons. Okay, you got that caveat. However, basically what it is. Now in this version, it's really freaking close, but at the same time, you're seeing the shapes be more angled than they would actually be, most of the chairs. So it's all simplified a bit. And everything's just a little bit off. And that might be because it's so iconic and get it right is tricky, but you kind of accept they're not going to spend the time making super curved chair backs when chairs in their world are like two pieces of plywood are square,
Yeah. Well, the thing here too is in Prodigy they did the Enterprise D bridge as well, and again things were off proportion wise.
They were really off proportion wise. Yeah.
I think Lower Decks did it better. Did the Enterprise D bridge?
That's because they had 6-foot people rather than 5'1" heroes. They had proportion.
Exactly, and be able to see them over the console.
And again, who is going to go ahead and make comparison renders to show exacting?
Because when you watch it, as just a casual fan,
Yeah.
it looks close enough that nobody would even bat an eye and say, yeah, it looks exactly like it should.
It looks better than it needs to. But then when it's so good, the problems that they obviously ran out of time on or budget, like, oh, that's just unfinished, wrong, mistake, quick. And I remember I jokingly said to you, that trailer must be from an early version that wouldn't make in the show. Oh.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen often, though.
I said that probably wasn't the case as well.
I know, but always give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, if you go back one
Yes.
and go to or forward one, I guess, where you see the chairs, it's a better example with Boimler on the bridge. You can see how they're just too boxy. They are wrong, but also you know what they are, so it's fine.
Yeah, even that center part behind the captain's chair is just straight lines, not curved, which is the same thing we saw in the struts with the Oberth class.
Yep.
I just assume that the straight lines are easier to just whip up.
Yeah,
but...
and you can look at the ceiling, and all the proportions of the things are wrong or off because obviously fit better in the art style of this thickness, this curve, this lack of curve just works better.
Guys, 5 more likes, get to 50. Haven't had a super chat since Aaron's.
Wow.
Chime in.
We're talking about next guys. Super chat worthy, surely.
Yeah. I'm
Brand new
comparing
Trek.
to actual, live action Trek as well, and the comparison. So we want to hear your thoughts. Is it animation style or is it different? Oh yes, a poll would be good. No, but just those off the cuff dismissive comments of it's an animated show, guys, get over it. Of course it won't look the same. You're wrong though, because they put in so much attention to detail that they know the canon, they know the source material, they want to represent it. They could just go lazy and change things and just draw a vague shape that's similar, but they pay attention to the details. They actually add the pinstriping, they add little things. So we got to give them credit for that, and it's not just animation that makes it look different. And the fact that was said on that Runabout episode annoys me, because the Runabout is completely different. It was there to rescue Gavin, from the warp run one Phoenix ride. So it's a in the solar system rescue Runabout. It's a little bit different design, or it could just be a couple years on they've changed the design. So
yeah. Read the polls, Joe.
We got a poll. Oof. Hold on. Is Lower Decks visual canon always? Cartoon non-visual canon. Deliberate design tweaks often. Interesting choices. Go vote on the poll, guys. We want to usually hit to hit 100 votes on the polls, but all right. Let's see what other things we got to compare here. Arrow Shuttle. Ooh.
Yeah, attention to detail much. You know what I mean? That's a buy Mike a drink sort of level of detail.
A lot of people would argue and say the Arrow Shuttle was never shown on screen. I mean, it was in test footage. We've seen it. We know what it is.
But it was in every episode.
I know. I don't know.
Every single episode. This shape. Every single episode.
Blank template that they threw in the bottom because they didn't have it constructed.
Well, I mean, Rick designed it. I mean, he didn't. Yeah. He did sketch the bottom. So.
Yeah. And it's got an Eagle Moss ship. It's as close to canon as you can get because there was test footage.
Bottom is canon.
Bottom is canon.
I mean, that's and I would say change it up a little bit. I would if I was to do my own version. No, this was beautiful. This was, I know you missed it, and I certainly missed it until I did my prep, and I was like, oh.
And 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't get them in Voyager, so we're going to compensate by putting 4 in one shot.
And also, these are things where they can get the faintest of shapes, but you can visibly see all the main elements existent in this. No ifs or buts. I definitely hope we see more of it, because it's a cool design. That's, and these things do moves. They might be 3D models. Might just chuck them together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, we could literally show anything. And we don't invent a new shuttle. We can just use an aero shuttle for some reason. Yeah, why not? Just waiting for the wave ride to show up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, though, if you had the Starbase shot, that was a really great surprise because we saw sort of recanonized Kamaria, Dauntless, and Marquis, a new ship. Another one out of the blue, which we haven't seen yet. Come back, the Centaur variant thing, that was just there.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need another new space ship just for that. I'm assuming this is a 2D matte painting, because why would it be 3D? But, I mean, this is a really fun set of ships to be, oh, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Bonus, Stuart, bonus.
Yeah, and we did a breakdown video at the time of all these ships. The Andorian ones are slightly different, but again, this is the next generation era. This is not the NX era, so of course there'd be changes to ship designs after that long. But they definitely look the part. You know what they are. So
I'd rather see this sort of, if you just go into a random mid to low end location, I'd rather see cannon ship designs that are old than 10 brand new things, or even stow things, because you'd think, the newer things are going to stay on the front line of the big missions. Anything like this is going to be old, fun, low end. Like, this is a good way of doing it, utilizing old things. And now I can include, if I want to include a Daedalus class in a film, I can, because there's a Basardidum blue glow grilled ship. It flies. I can do it. People complain at me for doing it. I said, no, low decks. Look, this episode exists.
And the size scale is on par with NX era. Small,
Yeah, I'm totally fine. That they could easily have messed up, which they have often.
Yeah.
As in other shows in general.
Melissa Jericho says, I'm in the West Coast currently, which is very strange to have it live in the afternoon. Yeah. Must be weird being in a different time zone. We're still at the same time, so
we're still us.
Thank you for being able to join us. Mark Lawrence throws in $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Mark. I've just got to say that the ships and all the other attention to detail have been a breath of fresh air. Thank you, Mike and team. Hashtag cap drink. Well, it's not a Trekyards, but I got some coffee.
Although, thank you again for everyone's Trekyards appreciation. I guess on Saturday, Marie had a nice time. I think she did rather well, and she has agreed to come back, which means you didn't scare her off.
Good.
That was always the worry. I think my suggestion to her was maybe she should come back on the season finale of Lower Decks, because she was here at the season opener.
Yeah.
Because I'll give her all 10 to watch. She can talk about the season finale and kind of round out the show she likes of the two of them. So you might see her again in 10 weeks' time. Or 9 weeks. What do you think about that, Stuart?
I think that's a great idea.
Yes.
I'm glad she had fun. She didn't seem nervous at all, really. She did really
She's good at hiding it when she gets going, and then she forgets about it. But it's that additional hub to get over that.
Yeah, exactly.
But the anxiousness of, and then what she's doing is like, oh, yeah, well, I'm here, so.
Yeah. We still get nervous sometimes when we have I do personally, when we have a guest coming on, we got to interview them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I still get a little bit of nerves going on there. So.
I mean, come on, getting 4 Lower Decks of the highest members is like, yes! Gently shitting ourselves. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's great. And the was that the previous one, Mike, the assistant was on, like, listening to us as well, which is funny because it's like, and them listening. Oh, what's her name? Alice.
Don't recall off the top of my head.
So we did another one where we had somebody who was monitoring. And in the final, it says what he meant to be. Was it? Oh, was it Mike the first?
It was Mike the first time. When we went over because he wanted to.
Yeah.
She popped on and said, "It's time. It's got to cut it."
That was
he's like, no, I want to talk to them for a bit more.
Because that was the official through press. The other time was just us booking it. Yes. That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah. But second time they booked us for an hour, and we talked to them for close to 2 hours. So
yeah, it was an hour and 35, and his lunch
wanted
break.
To keep going.
Yeah.
If we go to Klingon Bird of Prey Interior Breakdown 4, the transporter bay.
Ooh. Oh, I loved this in the show. I loved seeing this. This was great.
Wish we would have saw more of this on screen, but there you go. The transporter pad shapes, the lights along the bottom, the transporter console lights, like, they know what they're doing for sure.
And if I had said to you, Stuart, sketch the Kronos 1 transport room.
Okay, no.
Yeah, I would have no idea. This is the shot. There's this, his close up, they walk out of the room.
Yeah.
And I mean, it leaves me often thinking, like, where is this else in the film? Because you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be made just for this suit. I guess they do technically beam in with the suits, I guess. Technically it's in more, but it's so close up, it's hard to see.
And Chekhov finding the blood, but that's a very close up on him. You see the close up of the pad with the blood.
Well, he goes to the I thought he does on Enterprise.
Is it on Enterprise? Oh yes, it is on Enterprise. You're right.
Because at the time I went to think, is he in on it? As his face is like, ooh, is he gonna report it? Is he not?
Yeah, you're right. Shit.
Because this is clearly not the same exact room. It feels different. It just does. However, the details, the technical elements are on point. So you know it's a transporter with those same functions, same technology, but it's obviously a different size room, a different class ship. It's great. Actually, really like. Maybe I should get this room built for a fan film and use someone else's transport room because I really like the way it's framed.
Yes.
The sort of cavalier nature of the pads feels kind of fun.
Now, do you like? They're different. One's a bird of prey. One's the Kronos one, which is a Katinga.
A flagship as well, in theory.
I like the Katinga version with the curved. Plus, they also have like 5 transporter pads instead of 4. Like you can tell these are different rooms based on the same design. If you never saw,
Like I like Kronos 1's. I mean, it's a much more expensive set. Obviously, it's a set. But I do like the colours of the bird of prey more. I think in general, the brighter reds and the brighter oranges. Although the pastels is nice. I don't know. I'd probably make the Katinga more red. Just a bit more red would get me. But yeah, this is a really, really nice one. And that's those deep cuts that we don't even remember because there's so much to remember. And we have specialties.
Starbase Montgomery says must be pure blood Klingons with purple blood. I don't know. It's just different blood type. That's one thing I got to give Discovery credit for. In that one fight scene with the Klingons, there was both colors of blood. There was red and there was pink or purple. Very, very. It's hard to spot, but we did point it out at the time, so I'm glad there's at least that. Yeah. I guess Gorkon only, or not Gorkon. Yeah, Gorkon only wanted like certain blood type working on his ship. I don't know.
He's a minimal purist.
This is not Klingon blood. Okay, Worf. How many times have you bled red blood? Oh, sorry, that's Colonel Worf.
So speaking of Colonel Worf, not at all.
Oh,
there's this collage I did of the many when we did our Easter egg hunt lives in the Ferengi one, and this is a bloody impressive quick fire sort of thing. If this sort of shot doesn't convince an audience member they're trying to make it canon accurate, how can you not convince them? I mean, everything here is within a tiny degree of difference. I mean, tiny degree, to the point that we don't need to comparison pictures, they're that close. And all these are hard to do. I mean, even what's the fighting, what's that called?
Got you?
No.
Oh, no. Ambujitsu.
Yeah. Like, I would forgive them to not have those black lines, to detail, make it simpler, but it gives so much to the overall vibe. This really adds the attention to detail, guys. It's here. So they are trying to make it canon because everything here feels so on point, and it still pisses me off there's no holsters the rest of the time because the uniforms are good with holsters.
Yeah. I got to arena cannon. The Ferengi shuttle. That's like pretty much exact. Yeah. Damn.
And half the stuff you could easily just tweak and be a close reference, but they're all so on point. Yeah.
Gene says the attention to detail is without a doubt extraordinary. Yes. That's why we say when things are very different, ship design-wise, that was a choice. That wasn't a mistake,
I mean, we'll give them for one big mistake out of 10 happily. But
well, didn't Mike say some days he's not there to supervise and some things slip through that he wouldn't have approved of? Because they're always saying, "What'll Trekyards think of this?" I hope they're actually saying that. It's great.
Probably occasionally.
But yeah.
Another good example. This is the other end of the spectrum, and it's in my it's the Excelsior and Obina class bridge. This is one of those things where it's an Excelsior inspired generational leap ship. Not Excelsior, but this one of those things where this ship could be truly original. And yet, this bridge is a very, very clear, different yet the same Excelsior. Doesn't need to be, but it is. That's where their attention to detail takes them so far into the universe of what would it be for audience. Oh, that makes sense. And this is a on-screen bush. Got it. Yep. Top marks. You know, KL cars aren't the best. They're light purple. You can barely see. Fine. Okay. Not to mark off of that. Okay. Fine. Although I think orange would look a bit weird. But this is a great version of it. It is what it is, and it is something else trying to be. But the attention detail, all still there.
Small little things. Yes, there are quite a few differences, but this is a newer ship. The Obina is a different class than the Excelsior. The Obana, sorry. But there's a lot of those hallmarks. The shape of the staging that the captain's chair's on, the MSD directly behind her, the white lights along the not exact, but it shouldn't be because the Excelsior was a much older ship. And they get upgraded over time. So, just saying, you know what you're looking at when you see that.
But it's where, this is what my logic with fan films is. I'm not there to reinvent the universe. I'm there to put something into the universe. That's what Dave Blass said. All the stuff's here for a reason, and why would you not ignore it? But yeah, it's important to keep it in the same vein. And so this is a perfect version of tweak, get different yet. Yeah, brilliant.
Now if you go to Nova 1 copy, this is a Nova class again. It wasn't it was more of a background ship, kind of further in the background, but considering where it was in the frame, the attention to detail again is extraordinary. Shapes are generally the same. Yes, there's some differences. There's some secondary hull lighting, the phaser strips aren't as long, things like that, but the shapes are all pretty much bang on. So again, could be a new version of the Nova class.
Whereas I disagree. I think this is their case of being so far different that this is one of their mistake ships. So when I talked about this, because they've got, you can see 7 decks of windows on the secondary hull, 2 on the saucer rim. They're missing the entire aero shuttle lower dome. They combined into a non-shape.
Oh, wave ride.
Wave ride, yeah. There's no torpedo tube slots. The top. I mean, this I think is actually one of their. They just did it wrong ships, and their cell shape's different. Because just having windows. I mean, because we talked about it, you can see the original cannon window cutouts in the hull, but below that, tiny new window textures which are wrongly scaled. So the modeler did the right, then put a slap of wrong on it. So this is one of the wrong things. This is, I think, a pure mistake. It was the end of the season. They said, let's do 3 ships. They quickly sketched it. It's missing a ton of small details. They quickly went through it. This is, this I give. I mean, the fact that the Wave Rider is just, you can literally see is just a 3 polygon diamond with a ball on it. So this, I think, is one of their worst examples of being just wrong. Even the deflect shape is just, you can tell the angles are wrong, the cut's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, because we go to Nova 2, and it's the same ship, but from a different angle. Much more lackadaisically drawn as well. But you can see on the secondary hull, and the primary hull, you can see where the windows are supposed to be, those big white ones. And then they just threw in a couple rows of small ones after. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Damn, I forgot about this one. Oh, they tried. This was on screen for a second, though. This was a really bad shot.
This was the way too ambitious. Because you can see the windows in the RCS thrusters.
I know.
Yeah, this is one of the embarrassing ones. But end of season, fine. You can also see how low polygon it is. I mean, this is probably... A guy drew it. He had 3 hours. And he was wrong. He's not even... Just, yeah. This is one of the bad ones. But you have a bird of prey that's almost pitch perfect. And then this, it still looks right, but all the details are partially wrong. All of them are partially wrong.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun to see.
Was the Equinox Nova class? Yes.
Yes.
But the Rhode Island wasn't.
No. And yes, point goes Picard on this one. That's because they use the model from the show. So
Yes.
So they kind of had a helping hand there. They used the real original model.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, it's called the Borg Queen, which now we have even more context for in Picard. This is one of those ones where this is a very clear example. It doesn't need to be Alice Krieg, even though it literally is because of the voice, but look-wise it can be variable because we've seen 3 Borg Queens, and they would have seen probably concept art of the Borg Queen when they're making this, because they would say, you know, Mike would say, question to other teams, are you doing Borg Queens? Oh yeah. Can we see some sketches? Okay. Oh, cool, we won't do that. You know, that's probably what happened here. But visually, it's so the same and yet different that it's like, it's just its own thing that is a Borg Queen. But it's not trying to be identical, because they could make it a lot better. That is not a Glass Krieg likeness, and they are not getting the body right vibe-wise. But it doesn't need to be in this specific example. So that's a weird hybrid of it doesn't matter, but it could be a lot better.
But it's so close. Look at the left 2 images. Look at the jagged cutout of the flesh. It's pretty much the exact same.
But look at the body. Like, I mean, why are there multi-tone lines and what? That's all not there.
Yeah, I know.
But yes, that's flesh for sure.
It's different with people because the animation style really dictates how people look.
Yeah.
And they're much more low detailed, obviously. Ships, they tend to do fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a little bit lower detail, but a lot of the little details that are on them don't need to be there, but they put them on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to give them credit for that, right?
And we're trying to do this live. I do think the lighting here is not good. I don't know if they I don't know if they didn't know they were going to get Alice Krieg or not, so they went with generic. But certainly it's off in a ton of ways. I don't know why. I just think. Although interestingly, the Borg Queen has got red lips, but the Lodex hasn't.
She hasn't put her makeup on yet today.
Hollow
It's
her.
fine.
Stuart, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But what is interesting else, Stuart, is an ad via the YouTube ad button.
Ooh.
It's not summoned me, but I do feel the need for speed ads. So 3, 2, 1.
It's amazing.
Yes. We are
Speaking
still
of,
a long way from our minimum, guys, so some 10s if we can.
say that.
Yes.
58 likes. Let's try to get to 75 likes. 48 people watching. If you haven't hit like yet, hit that like button.
Mm-hmm.
Super chat in. We've only had 3 super chats, and
Which is weird.
Yeah, we got a new track coming up tomorrow. Yeah,
Not that did that well last time either, but
I know.
come on, guys, Lodex, the best one.
Well, speaking of, I might as well tell you the schedule. Tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is my first reaction to the next episode of Lower Decks, so tune in for that. And Friday, of course, we do our full, complete breakdown, scene by scene, and get into the weeds on things. So join us for that at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Friday.
Yes.
There you go. Next 2 days.
Exciting.
Devo says, I remember this scene. Poor Boimler. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see more Borg stuff. Because they did so much in season 2, it's like teasing me, Stuart. Teasing me.
The other one here with the Borg is the Borg alcoves.
Mm-hmm.
And they are different for
Mm-hmm.
sure. I think they look more like the ones from Picard, actually. Because these are these. Those are Voyager Borg alcoves, right? Yeah.
Well, no, they're more TNG. I mean, they're just the angle's just a bit different. The Voyager ones have the arm. The Voyager ones are a bit different. These are more TNG because you can see the triangle pylon things connecting top and bottom. So this is clearly inspired by, but with the green lighting of late Borg, because you wouldn't get away with just a grey lighting now.
Mm-hmm.
But also the different angle really helps hide its. Well, is it the same? I don't know. But close enough. But I also kind of prefer this in its own way. I like more of the green.
I do too.
I do hope
I prefer the Lower Decks one for sure.
I do hope we see more Voyager exacting things for sure, though. Speaking of, though, another great thing is the Klingon bird of prey interior pieces. This is one of those ones where they have every single right to be different. Because bird of prey did change throughout the years. This is years later. You can be different grades. It could be a big, small, whatever bird of prey. And yet to find these shots and be like, ooh, that angle's right. Those pieces are the same. And it is still a conjunction of pieces. And the scales are all... It's clearly not built to the same exact scale. But that's fine. You can see exactly the pieces that you need. And I do know that... I mean, you've seen the Haynes manual too. You know the 3/4 you can look outside the hull sort of view. It's very close. More so from the back view. But it's like, yes, this is a pretty damn good. It doesn't feel the same for whatever reason. I think it's the angles and the colours. But once you break it down, it's like, oh, this is right. This is right. This is right. You know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the view screen's shaped. It's got the same shape, but it's.
But not the same shape.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know.
Proportionally not correct.
But also doesn't matter. I have zero qualms about that. It's really freaking close, but why would it be perfect? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier in this live stream, in that Haynes manual, it does say that Klingon commanders, they customize their bridges and stuff, so
yes,
it's just an excuse for the different bridges over the years. But hey, that's fine.
You know, I always remember the first time I went to a Star Trek Online Klingon bridge back when it came out over a decade ago, and I was like, this is terrible. Scale obviously is wrong, but the design just felt so disconnected from anything it should be. But they had the same reference we all had, which was the bird of prey bridges, and it was it made sense. It was a 2409 whatever bridge, but it wasn't even trying to really be. It was just trying to be a Klingon room that was called a bridge, because you didn't spend much of the mission there. They didn't put any extra time into it. And I was just huge, like, I want a Klingon bird of prey bridge. So nothing. So the fact this is so close doesn't need to be, but it is. That's what they put into this.
Yeah.
We're almost out of reference. Oh my god, Stuart, this is so many.
I know. We've had so many episodes on stuff over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need to go back and watch those because there's some ones that are really close.
Mm-hmm. Which means we can start to close out and go back to the Runabout then.
Ooh, yes, this is the best one. This one started it.
And no, obviously look at our video, but the front of the hull is different. And not just lacking the little greavy plates. If you look at that front window arrangement, the hull is angled, which, fine, that would be a Lodex trope, but there's now a window there, rather than two windows recessed in. There's a new plate line, the deltas are different. It's genuinely quite different, and when you start to realize the back pylon elements are so different, I'd love to see this as a 3/4 or like a proper, like, non-wide angle 3/4, because it's just so the same yet different. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Somebody mentioned earlier that we're a fan of the new delta on the front. I kind of like that personally. I do like the original where the delta points forward like an arrowhead. Mm-hmm. But this is a different. This is in the solar system. Like I said, this is rescuing Gavin from his Warp 1 Phoenix ride. This is like from the amusement or from the Montana park. Mm-hmm. They need to go save the guy, so it's not necessarily the same runabout. So different markings even make sense here. But yeah, I mean, Matt Boardman, it's like they have people on staff who actually care about the show they're working on. Ooh.
I mean, it does help the stuff's the easiest to create out of the 5 shows. For a Picard, it has to be photoreal. For a Discovery, it needs to be however they can get, and then make it super contrasty to hide details. Ha ha ha. Prodigy, it's all 3D animation, but with a lot more texturing over physical detail. And Lodex can go with literal 2D map paintings. You know?
Mm-hmm. And Devo says, so I guess the answer is animation style, but they really do mean well. No, this one, there's a distinct difference. They could have made the Runabout look exactly the same with the split window. They chose not to. This is their own take on a Runabout.
I mean, why?
Generally, their ships are pretty much accurate.
Yeah, because why would you add 2 slits to the pylons and give them a red and a... They don't even make sense. If they're white, fine. If they were blank, fine. But that's an unnecessary additional change that adds nothing specifically to it except colour. But I don't like the blue warp colour anyway. It's a terrible colour. I would fix that.
Yeah, it's too turquoisey. It's not blue enough.
But if you didn't have that front, you could say, okay, fine, the back side is an optical illusion, but you can visibly see that the inner grille orange parts are right at the precipice of that. There's a slight lip. Dex has a huge lip, and you can directly see where it is built the same, and they just pushed it back. You can see the fact that things don't touch where they should because they've changed the scaling. It's so right there.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is probably just 2D painting or whatever they did of this Runabout, because it's only on screen for like a second. It's one scene.
Well, no, it's quite a few seconds. It's like a slow pan in, but it's only one angle, one shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a pan in, but it almost feels like it's not one of the 3D.
Yeah,
versions.
I think it is. But like I say, it'd be a fun conversion. And the color certainly, put them side by side out of context, but it's being lit by Jupiter or Saturn, whichever one. So it's being lit by an orange hue. It'd be really fun to see it with more classical lighting.
And James Mick says Yellowstone class. No,
that's been long since. No,
this
is too new for that. That was the name of the class at the start. This is 25 years later. Picard was a young old man when the Runabout came out, and it presumably wasn't new at Deep Space Nine either. We know when it was first seen, but when it was first introduced, who's to say?
Yeah.
Although I can see them maybe want to get runabouts always moving to not get refitted.
Running about, you could say.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is a bit surprising that it's not because they had limited budget, but there's that great diagram in the technical manual showing the middle bit is designed to just come out, and it's a fantastic visual. It would have been so nice to have seen an alternate middle, but also the miniature couldn't do that, so then you're kind of stuck. The CG could if you cut up, but that's a big thing to do for a thing. Or never any more pods. It'd be really, really cool to see this with like a glowing middle reactor segment, and then like a phaser cannon pod at the top, like a tactical version. There's so many things you could do with this to kind of alternate it, and it'd be nice if Mike and the team utilised their experience the first 3 seasons, and with the Obina, that is their equivalent. Start to think through their own things that are original but in line, and that was a tremendous example of good, cool, not perfect, but really cool. And also Cerritos, another example. They've earned that. They can do it.
In the Parliament class as well.
Yes, to some extent, although I don't think that's quite as strong as the other ones. That was especially the fact that MSD was just a Cerritos with the added decks just on top. But it's fine.
And Dan, yes, we can. We have recorded a video of that, of the Peregrine class fighter.
Yep. We
don't have that here today, right now. So
no, because we actually
there'll be a video coming out about it.
Because we don't want to blow all of our. Wow, there's so many ships in 1 week. Otherwise, we are not going to have any for the actual week Saturday. So good to keep some of those back, just for sanity's sake, Stuart. Because when we don't have anything, we do pull our hairs out slightly. There isn't any more Star Trek goodness.
Yes, Dan, look forward to that. There will be a whole video on it.
And there are differences.
There are differences.
Spoilers are. Yeah.
Well, guys, I think we're going to call it. It's been very...
We've tried.
Interactively light on the Super Chats and stuff. But we did get 61 likes. If you are watching this and haven't hit like yet, give it a like. Let's see what we can get up to in just the next few minutes here. But also, last Super Chat slot snipe if you guys want.
Yep. It'd be nice
to get a Super Chat. Would be awesome.
It'd be nice to close out a month with more than a cup of coffee amount. Because it's both of us, Stuart. So, you gotta...
I'm aware.
Yeah. So, can we get 50 more in the last 5 minutes, put in some 5s?
Oh, I doubt that.
I had to, but we tried.
But Mark Lawrence has that last Super Chat slot right now with $10. So if you want it, $5, $10, $1. Let's go for a Super Chat snipe war if you want.
And even though people didn't cast you, I thought this was a great topic idea. I thought it was a really fun thing to kind of re-inhabit all of the... Because, we look at each thing in the vacuum of the episode, but now we have this season of... or 2 seasons or 3 seasons of context to embrace from. See, wow, they put all this Because that stuff's not come back. They haven't shown the bird of prey again. They haven't shown all this stuff. It's waiting in the wings, but that's all production quality they have in the bank. You know?
Yeah.
Money and time and thought spent. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What a team.
And we always give them credit when they show a ship and it looks like it should. We like to do the side by side and point out the good and the bad. So Starbase Montgomery throws in $2 and says snip. I think he means snipe. E on the end of that one. I don't want to be snip.
Oh. Hey now. Hey now.
Matt Boardman, $10. Interchangeable runabout parts. Snipe. Pew.
It would be great to see. It would be great to see.
Yeah, like a cargo module, extra beds, bunks, if you have to have a few people on board.
Yeah.
A luxurious toilet one you put in. Got a huge washroom. And
a jacuzzi module.
Yep. The holodeck module.
Hey.
Really long trip. You got the holodeck in the middle there.
That's cool. Yeah, that is a good idea.
And the weirdest thing about the runabout was we only saw the back in TNG. They used it so much in DS9, and they had that nice back area with the conference table and stuff. Only ever saw it in TNG. What? That was a weird decision. I don't know, man.
Well, they built it, but they couldn't store it. Or they didn't have plans. I will say, though, that I have actually written into 3 Trek shorts, I believe. We had it built at the same time. I haven't texted it or anything, but I do have it as a, because once it's there, it's there. So you will see it used maybe not more screen time than ever in Trek, but more single appearances. And it generally it's quite a cozy little room. I think it's got some nice big windows. It's got a really nice table. When you start to break these things down, you notice things. They either moved, rebuild, or use a scrap version. But the console data works at. That's just the same exact console design and layout from the Defiant crew quarters.
Nice.
So they possibly just moved that piece. Boom, console. It's the exact same thing. So when you start noticing that, we had already built the Defiant crew quarters, so we've just done a bit. That's great. Much quicker. So that was fun, but I definitely started to utilise that. But you kind of got to justify why and how. And in fact, I actually rendered a thing about that today. I was just trying to do some stuff, some spring cleaning, because I'm trying to multitask. So I was doing that. Yeah. That was that was seeing a guy scan something. Although the exterior doesn't fit inside the interior properly. I say that as in we have an exterior 3D model, the interior would not fit inside. Because we have the schematics of both, but they don't quite meld. And in fact, if you...
It's like the Delta Flyer that way.
It is. Because it's the... Now, I have to go back and check, but I believe... Don't hold me to it, but I believe where the windows actually stop on the outside would be halfway through a wall on the inside. Because there's just one more ring of windows that don't line up. But... who's going to notice?
And Michael Williams, yes, kind of. It's more of the center section that was interchangeable for the runabout pods, but not the back. But
I mean, do both.
Gorgonzola, yeah. Gorgonzola comes up with some good ideas for pods. Medical stasis pod.
Ooh.
The cattle transport pod. How about a Mugatu transport pod?
Might be needed.
Bowling alley module. Dabo table module. And that made me think of an arcade module. A couple of pinball machines.
Well, I know you watch Red Letter Media, but they the money plane. So it could be money runabout.
Yeah.
Money plane.
Have a brig module. It's just a big brig.
That's super useful, actually.
Transport a dangerous criminal.
But Stuart, where are we to our actual first goal? How close are we?
For which one? Likes or
Super Chats?
Super Chats were $170 away from our...
But we're 17 from our lowest possible goal. 1-7.
Oh.
That's
yes.
what I mean.
Oh, yes.
That's what I mean, Stuart. 1-7.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're also 7 likes away from our 75 likes, so... Give that a tap. If you're watching this after the fact, really
God,
appreciate a super thanks to kind of buffer this out. Would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But, do what you can. We appreciate it all.
I was just thinking back to the posters. The Valdor or the Nurixon is included in that. So I'm excited to see if that's just for funsies or actually be included. Because that's quite a specialist Romulan ship, so I don't expect it just to pop up at a whim. So what's that going to mean?
Oh, yes.
Because you sort of expect these episodes to be low-key, but at the same time, or not. Be fun to see. So soon, Stuart, so soon.
So can we get $20 or $17? That'd be awesome. It'd be all right. Platinum safe module, a hollow den. Oh, yeah, there you go. Medical or MHD and biobed module. Small ship design module. Jesus, you guys have some good ideas. Hopefully, Mike McMahon and team are watching and they'll incorporate some of them. But 69 likes. Still not under 75. We should just stare awkwardly at the audience.
I'm just reading some of the comments from our today's video, which we released, about the fact there's a Voyager uniform.
Oh yeah.
On some sort of lower decks with a little canon history lesson.
I still gotta tag that video. Damn.
Ooh,
Matt Boardman throws in $10. Doing my part to help out. Snipe me if you can. Ooh. Now we're only $7 away. No, wait, what? That was weird. $5 away.
Or $4.03 if you want to be very specific.
$5 super chat.
I'll show you something while I just saw it. This item took a month and a half to arrive. Waited that long for it, Stuart. You ready? The excitement was really palpable. It is. Ready?
Okay. Oh, it's a clip.
Yes.
For a phaser?
No, but close.
What's it for?
So this, there's a
character. I thought it was like an earpiece.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
can be. So this is there to be part of the lightsaber arrangement because the prequel lightsabers all go into a specific lightsaber clip. However, the original trilogy, they have those little hoops. So you need a hook, right? Now, you would think that given that is a standard style, that obviously Luke's and Vader's and Anakin's, they all have that, you'd think there would be a readily available hook for that. There is not. You can buy a super exclusive, custom-made, does both, for $90 on a lightsaber site. No. Not doing that, and so I knew there's not. How do you buy a hook that has to have such a reach so that thing can clip and not get loose? Also go over a belt but not be obtruse, and there's builder hoops you can get that screw into a belt, but the belt's not a good quality one, so screwing into crap leather would destroy it. And so I went through, I believe it was 25 pages on Amazon, on eBay, obviously eBay, and I eventually found this on just some site, but it's actually kind of perfect. And then it was £2 with 3 weeks shipping, but it was delayed by 2.5 weeks.
Shit.
Not telling me, obviously. All of a sudden it's been sent. It took another 3 weeks to get here. So, and we're shooting in like a week and a half.
Well, I got there in time.
It did. But it's like trying to find a super specific style of hook, and it's wrong. Like I know what the real one should look like, and it's not this, but it's definitely like functional. The original was just some guy just bits of metal and curved it. Like, it's not hard, but no one sells them. Whereas you can get lightsaber prequels everywhere. It's kind of weird how.
That's really weird, man.
Like, well, how are you meant to hang a Luke or an Anakin then? And I looked.
With the rope. No.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's funny how I did it. I did a test picture of the thing, and I have these zip tie things that are for cables that are Velcro. I just had 3, so it gives more tension, and just barely Velcro it to itself, and it held for a picture. but I was not secure with it. So yeah, finally got my 7-week arriving Chinese hook. Yay!
Nice.
Thank you. But yeah,
well,
from the
James
start...
Mick throws in £5 and says might be about $7. Yes, you'd be correct.
More so, well, yeah. I mean,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes,
we hit a quarter of our minimum today, so thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Everybody that did the super chat, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. By the way, I can bring my lightsaber again if you want to see it sober. I can grab it. You know, not the one for the hook, but
his own unique one. He has returned, everyone, with a lightsaber in hand. Dun, dun, dun.
Because I did reveal last live, because Drunk Yards are a celebration, I am making a Star Wars film. In fact, I got a custom lightsaber.
Does it vibrate?
It does not vibrate.
Oh.
But you can screw off the speaker grill for some reason. Speaker. No other function. Okay. Sure.
Cool.
This is one I don't know if you ever... do you have any lightsabers in the house? Yeah, you do, don't you? Because you did
well, they're just they have the blades in them.
Yes.
They don't have just a nice hilt like that.
Yes. It's very much a case of, you know, I keep quoting that line from Harry Potter, you know, the wand chooses the wizard, not the other way around. So the lightsaber just, that one was the right one. Although I did say to the guy, any way you could customize, because I think it's too black for me, personally. Like, it's great, but I would love to add silver, like aluminium inside these grills. I think that'd make it pop.
Or gold. Gold would look really good.
Or gold. Yeah, or gold. I think that's missing. Like, it looks grey by itself. I think that would really give it some oomph. But yeah, custom lightsaber for the film, for our hero Jedi, and then just my one. Luckily, the guy likes it, because if he hated it, it'd be bad. Although it's such a, you know, because whenever you get lightsaber, I say that I've held 3 because I had to get one for the other person as well who's fighting. Like, holding them, there's shit in the way.
Yeah.
Like, Luke's is terrible. There's shit everywhere. You know, you hold it, and the grip piece, like, 2 hands, it's in my hand. And now this hand is up until, like, the grill hilt thing. It's like, that's so uncomfortable. So this one, for me, kind of has a one-handed vibe, because it's kind of got a lovely, like a lovely straight line of combat. Like, it just feels elegant in one-handed.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't necessarily fight one-handed, because you haven't got the, you know, strength, etc.
Well, there's different swords. There's single-handed, there's double-handed, there's hand and a half.
Which is why it's like, just embrace that sort of vibe. But
yeah.
So we've got to build it in 3D as well, because I've got the first scene of the film, and I will give this away to Stuart. I mean, no one's watching, so you know. The first scene of the film is the Jedi character goes from being a knight to a master, and so he's got this lightsaber, but it's broken apart into pieces. Which I guess I've got to work out how it breaks apart. And there's that scene where it's floating mid-air, and he forces a green crystal into it, reassembles it, grabs it, now it's green. That's his ceremonial, now he's master. So I've got to get built in 3D, because obviously I'm not going to destroy this for that and make it float. It's not tremendously difficult or anything, but I've got to build the innards.
Well, Gene Owalski Jr. throws in $5, so thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, we need a Trekyards t-shirt based on that roundabout comparison graphic you have in this episode.
It's a good graphic. They look good together. They look good.
I think you mean Runabout. I'm just confused now. Yeah.
We didn't do it in our summer holiday because we were, you know, on holiday, but I really want to sit down with you, do shirts. Even just take our Lodex people and just and get Brett on the line somehow. Let's line shirts.
And John Ridley, he's the one that's designed a lot of our stuff. So,
well,
friend of mine. So
do a round table of shirt creation, even just so we can get one. Not even necessarily to sell many, because that's not what our shirts are for, really. But that's okay.
Speaking of,
oh yeah,
I'm going to be at London Comic Con in London, Ontario, September 17th and 18th.
Oh, excellent.
Robert Picardo is going to be there. I'm going to be hosting
this
panel like I did with
Denise Crosby. And
I'm getting some Trekyards key rings made. These are the Starship Research Division ones. They look really cool. So there'll be those available. So if you're here, come and get
cool. Them. No, I mean, Robert's well, I think he'll be better with non-English people because he made fun of my accent and all of our things culturally, so he won't have that same thing in Canada as much, I'm sure. But he's such an interesting chap. He was at.
I'm sure he'll come and sit in the chair too. So there'll be a whole segment with him in the chair. He's one of those guys. So
I mean, he's done so much sci-fi. He is so like one of those iconic players, and they're all normally good parts. And he plays them differently. He's got a good range. It's kind of like the cowboy, EMH obviously, and Stargate. 3 entirely different performances. There's not even anything to link them.
Look at Johnny Cab from
Total Recall. Yeah, 100%. I'm not sure I think of too many more ones. I know he's on lots, but
he's in Inner Space, the movie Inner Space.
That's the cowboy. I mean, technically he's playing cowboy, and he's playing fake himself being cowboy, as being the other guy pretending to be cowboy. I still love your hair in that because it's so weird to see. Good movie. I want the 4K of it. Yeah. He's the sort of guy you can have dinner with and just you wouldn't even mention anything for 2 hours. Things just be discussed. It's like, what are we talking about? Oh, just everything. Yeah. Yeah.
And on that note.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching, and drop a super thanks if you're watching this after the fact. We'd appreciate that.
Yes.
And I'll see you tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our first reaction.
Yeah.
And Friday is our complete breakdown. So we'll see you guys then. Enjoy Lower Decks. Until then, and we'll see you later.
Until then, he's Captain Foley.
Oh, and he's Commander Cody.